Hello everyone and welcome to a new discussion which we are going to have about the key elements of a map or figure under this technical communication course for engineers. We have covered many points, but while discussing figures or maps, especially maps, I am going to talk here that what are the things which we miss and what are the important points or key elements of a map which we should keep in mind while including in our presentation, whether it is a oral presentation or is a PowerPoint presentation or in a print form also. So, written presentation. Everywhere we have to take care about how our maps should appear in the reports or in PPT. So, what all good maps should have. So, one by one we will see all these key elements, and you know that the art of map making itself is a subject which is a cartography and which is mostly taught to the either civil engineers or maybe people from earth science domain and others. So, we do not have to go too much details about this art of cartography or in that sense, but some common elements which we must keep in our mind. So, these are the golden rules of cartography, and there are just few. First one is the title. So, each figure or each map should have a title. While discussing figures, we have also covered these points that each figure or a map, here we are talking mainly about map, should have a title, and this title should be in a large font. And also I have discussed this point that the font which we should choose not like Times Roman, but like the currently which is being displayed like Arial or Calibri or Helvetica, in which the the thickness of the character, each character does not change within the text or within the character itself. So, in that way when you project or reproduce such things in written form, then the quality will not deteriorate, and therefore the size or the font size should be kept in mind and the font type of font should be kept in a mind, that they look good also, but the same time while reproducing these things and the quality of our title should not deteriorate. What we have to do, we have to strike a balance between the sizes of fonts, because within a map we will be having a say legend, and if legend font size is very small whereas our title size is too large, then it would look imbalanced. So, we should keep this thing in mind while preparing a layout of a map, and we will see some bad examples and also obviously good examples of map. So, if a map is a thematic, maybe like land use map or maybe a forest cover map, maybe a lithological map, then we must mention the title at the top. And if it is related with with the time or year, then the example as shown here, that the land use map of a study area of 1990, and more specific if we can also mention the month. So, what should be written in title, that is one of the way of writing that thing. Similarly, our figure, these things may come within the figure, the title may come in a box or without box, but it should not be overemphasized neither underemphasized. So, balance should be there. Now, another very important key element of a map is the scale indicator. Earlier we were using, when we did not have the digital media, then we were using the ratio scales, and the drawback with ratio scale, that if you enlarge or reduce, then the numbers which are written like 1 raised to 50,000. Now, if I enlarge that map where it is printed 1 raised to 50,000, that value is not going to change, whereas the scale has changed. Therefore, it is necessary, instead of using the ratio values, we should use the scale bar in a map. So, whenever it is reduced or enlarged, the bar itself will enlarge or reduced accordingly, and therefore, there should not be. And the important thing, that each map should have a scale also, and the scale as a graphic scale or bar scale is very much required. So when a reader is going through these things, your map or a figure or a map figure, then the unit of measure of the map should known to you. So suppose if it is the scale in kilometers, we must mention kilometer, the unit if it is meter, or in some maybe in other units also. In many countries they use also still miles, so that miles can also be used, but kilometer is more common internationally. Third important point is the orientation, and this is again very important about that each map should indicate the direction of the north, because generally it is assumed that a map or a figure is having a direction north upward. But sometimes because of the orientation of our study area or the size of or shape of our study area is not in, doesn't fit very well in a portrait form, it fit very well with the landscape form, and therefore we might be changing the direction of north. So instead of north upward, we might be keeping north either east or west. So while preparing such maps, one should always keep this thing. Because if anything produced and suppose in written form and submitted to a journal, it is highly likely that somebody might raise a question that what is the direction of north, and if it is wrongly printed, wrongly given, even in a PPT, it gives a very bad impression about person's understanding about these things. Another thing is the graticules or grid. So it is not necessary that each figure should have a complete grid of latitude, longitude, or easting, northing, depending on what kind of map projection is being used. But there should be some grid marks instead of a complete grid. You can have at the border, you can have grid marks. So when we will see the examples, I will again revisit this point. Another important thing is the border, or in some software or in some literature it is also called neat line. So there basically what border is doing, it is identifying exactly where the map area stops. So it is declaring the boundary of the map area, and it is very important. If we do not keep the boundary, then for the reader it becomes very difficult to understand. So it is always good. Now again the thickness of this border should be in a manner that it should not be too thick or too narrow or too thin. So again a balance has to be there, which one can prepare, and so again the same practice. Suppose from my end I have finished a map, now I should show to some of my colleagues or friends and ask them to tell, is there any imbalance in the font size, thickness of the lines and other things. So balance has to be always there. Now both the borders which we are having or neat lines we are having, if we keep very thin, for example, and the map is reduced in a publication, then what would happen, that might disappear, that the thin neat line or thin border might disappear, may not display correctly, and therefore a optimum thickness of the border line has to be attained. Now another very important thing is the legend. Also another term is used, index. So some maps requires the index, some maps requires the legend. So if it is a thematic map, it is generally the legend. So legends, if you are using different colors, shades, pattern, then every unit which is shown in the map should have what is that meaning. So suppose if I am having a polygon in my map which is shown as in a red color, so in my legend there should be a box for red color, and against that the information or description of that polygon should be there. So this is another very important thing, that each map should have title, each map should have a north symbol, each map should have a scale bar, each map should have a boundary line or border or neat line, each map should have a legend too. And again the size of legend, the font size, font type, again the same point will come here, that it should display so clearly but not too emphasized. A balance, again legend, the main map and the legend, there should be a balanced. Now many times we take a map from other sources also, or take the map from other source and then we work on that and we improve that map. So it is always necessary to give credit to the map if I have downloaded or have taken from somebody's publication, so that the map credits or the source of data must be declared. Because if I have prepared the map, then no problem, I do not have to give credit to myself. But if I have taken from somebody's work, then I must give credit, otherwise it will come under that plagiarism, and plagiarism is a crime. So one has to be very, it is a cheating basically. So one should always avoid, one should give the credit whoever has produced the first map. If you have improved on that, still you can write his name with prefix like after. So name of the cartographers, in some maps it is also required, so that can also be given. A map, date of the map, that is another important thing, is required sometimes for some types of maps. And the data which has been put in the map, if that data is also available, then it should also be given. For example, I am using in a figure a satellite image. Now satellite image that image might have been acquired on a particular day. So I should know what is that area or what is that date, and that date I should put. So that whatever the details which are required to understand the map by the reader should all be available. Now map projection itself is a big subject, but anyway, if you are using a map projection, you have changed the map projection, then definitely you should write that in what map projection you have produced the scale. If you are using simple latitude longitude, then you need not to go, because it is a non-projected data or non-projected area. But if you are using say UTM or a grid is easting northing, then you must mention that it is in UTM projection. Now another important thing, but it may not require in all figures, maybe the first figure, that is the locator map or inset. So generally what we show in inset, suppose I am working in India, so in the corner of my map I would be showing the map of a boundary of India or maybe the state boundaries of India, and within that India I would be showing my study area. So this is very much required for a person who is not aware about the Indian or very conversant with the Indian geography, will know that where it is located. So it is also called locator map or inset map. So these are the important things. The why I said that in very first map, in a publication or in a thesis, very first map you must show the location map, and later maps within your thesis or publications need not to show all the time this inset map. So I will show you the examples here, and the example from a published map. As you can see, I was mentioning about the satellite image. So you are having here in this case you are having inset map, and it is also showing the relevant state boundaries and then study area. And another important thing, as few points which we have discussed, is about the north and also scale, neat line as you can see here, and also the legend. So what are these lines which are there? And since other details can be put in the figure caption, so those things are here. Now here the date is not important, therefore the date has not been given, but within the body of the text or publication the date of these images are given, or this image is given there. So one of the ways is to put all these things in the caption, but too much text in the title should not be there. Now our aim of while preparing maps, that we should have a very effective graphical design or very impactful map, and everything should be within that map should be very clear. So we should design the layout and then create a very effective layout or design or structure, and therefore the visual impact of that map becomes very easy. If you recall the discussion in one of the previous lectures, I have mentioned that when somebody is going through a publication, what he does, that first he will read the title, then abstract, maybe introduction part, then he starts going through the figures and maps, And if these things are drawn nicely, maps are very well designed, their layouts are very well designed, all key ingredients, key elements of a map are there, the first you are earning very positive points at the beginning before he goes through the entire manuscript or entire thesis. So, therefore, these are very important thing that our maps should have all key elements. So, most of these we have already discussed. So, neatly maps should be neatly drawn here, that means that maps should not be cluttered with lot of information. Only relevant information should come in a map or figure, rest of the information can go in the caption or in the body of the text. Second point is appropriately and consistently generalized, depending on what you want to emphasize in a map. So, if I take back to here, then the boundary of India or state boundaries are generalized. All details of Indian boundaries are not shown here, it is a generalized boundary, because the purpose here for this inset map or locator map just to show the study area within India. So, therefore, it is not required to have all details. So, a generalized map can be put there. Other important point is systematically balanced. We should have a balance, not too large fonts, not too small fonts, not thick lines, too thick lines or too thin lines. A balance has to be there, and as I mentioned, no cluttering. So, once somebody has prepared a map, should show to his colleagues, friends, and then get the feedback. And I am sure that they would give some suggestions which will further improve your. Now, another important thing while preparing maps or figures is the visual hierarchy. So, it is a hierarchy of symbology. Symbology means what kind of colors you are using, what kind of symbols you are using, or that thing. So, or kind of letters or fonts which you are using. So, the 3 points: lettering, that means your fonts size and type of font; line weights means the thickness of lines; and shading. These things are again very important. And another one important thing, you can add the colors. So, if you are using colors, colors should not be too bright or too dull, because remember all the time that the map which you are going to produce will be reproduced in whether it will be projected through a PPT or multimedia projector, or it might go into publication. And therefore, the color should be chosen, or pattern or shading should be chosen in a manner that whenever it is reproduced, the quality of your map or visual hierarchy does not lost. So, overweight, underweight of the features, lines, fonts should always be avoided. And another important point, and the purpose, and this is again why you have prepared a map. So, a map should not unnecessarily be put in a thesis or a manuscript or in a PowerPoint presentation. And if it is required, then it should be very obvious that why this map is inside that. So, one should have to have all this idea, and this starts of course from a simple beginning. Now, another example from a published work, that instead I want we wanted to show you the directions of certain features. Here the features are the lineament, and we wanted to also show the grid. So, the long grid is there, scale is there, and the legend is there. What is this figure, that is also there, north is there, and neat line is also there, and of course caption and title, everything is there. So, that makes your map complete, and thickness of the lines or neat lines, other things are such that if it is reduced by 50%, still it will not lose the quality. That should always be. So, that optimum thickness has to be there. Of course, if somebody reduced to a stamp size, then definitely the quality will reduce, but nobody is going to do it. So, it might be reduced to 1/4 or half, and then it will not create any problem in the quality. Again, a map with the inset example is here, legend is here, north is here, these tick marks, latitude, longitude, grid marks are there, not complete grid. In the previous example, you have seen completely grid. And instead of Here it has been mentioned a reservoir, and individual reservoir names are also coming, and of course you are having caption and title, everything. And because these maps were prepared by ourselves, and therefore I am not talking credit to the map maker, because these are our be prepared. But if I would not have prepared, taken from somebody, then thing. Now color whenever you are going for colors, then one has to be little careful about the colors, that whenever these are reproduced or projected, the color should not lose, and this is the one of the examples. And that only 4 colors have been used, and you are having the north, legend, and scale and everything. The only point missing is the let long grid here, nothing else. Another an important example, again latitude longitude grid is there, scale is there, and then legend is there, then the study area locator map is there, north is there, everything. Whatever is required, whatever we have just discussed, almost everything are present, necessary, and avoiding cluttering. So this is another important thing. And another very important thing which I should not miss to tell you, that like this map is in the landscape. Earlier map could have been fit in a portrait also. So depending on the shape of your area, like this fits very well in landscape, so we should prepare in landscape rather than in portrait. Or if I have to prepare in that manner, then I should keep in mind what is the direction of the north. So these things should be kept in mind, and one can really produce good maps of the same area, but different colors have been used here, legends are there, and all those key elements which we have discussed are also there. It is not necessary that your legend you should put in a box. It depends how. Sometimes we have without box we put the legend, or sometimes with box. You can try, because after all these maps one would be preparing on a computer using certain software, maybe GIS, some Corel Draw or kind of thing. So one should put and then see whether that one looks better or not. There is no, what I am trying to say, there is no hard and fast rule. Now since we are talking about digital world and a lot of information available on net, so these are the PowerPoint contains an integrated word map. So that can also be used for a locator map or any other thing, and this map can be incorporated in your presentation, or in whether it is written or oral. If I take example from a GIS software like ArcGIS maps, and then again these I can add a map to a slide very easily. So many data like boundary of country's boundary or drainage lines or road network of the world, they are available on net. So why to recreate? You can just download. However, if you are downloading or adding through these softwares, you must mention that the source of data is such and such, that the credit for the map has to be given to someone. Now let us see bad examples of map. So this is a bad example of a geological map. What is bad here is that too many polygons and too bright colors and little confusing also. And instead of using within this legend, instead of using colors in the box, they have put the numbers. Humans are very good with colors, but they are not as good as with numbers. So therefore numbers should have been avoided, the color should have been used. So this is one of the bad point here is. Another thing is that the scale should have been like this scale bar should have been like this, so that one knows, and if a division can also be shown, that is another very. Now this map has been oriented. So it has been oriented, so this is the longitude, and this longitude is going like this, but the north has not been rotated. So we know that the north, major axis of the north symbol should be parallel to the longitude. So this is another mistake in this map. Another mistake is in the numbers. See, this third number is here, third number is here. So one does not know which third number is, which unit is. Therefore, if he would have used or they would have used the boxes with color filled with the same symbol as in the map units in the legend, then the reading of such maps or interpretation of such maps becomes much easier. And these things should be kept in mind. Further, see the lines, the lines of the polygons are too thin, they are not visible. Again, there should have been the clear lines for all polygon units of different geological features or units which are there. Another bad examples of a map is that it shows the boundaries of independent nation as well as some dependent territories. Now here, like for if I take the map of India, it does not shows the real boundaries of India, neither it shows all three colors of our tricolor or national flag. Similarly for Russia it is also not. So it is a very bad way of representing the world boundaries, and large part of the world is shown with this kind of symbology, which is not anybody's flag of these nations which are covered in this one. Similarly here for USA and Canada and North Pole region and other thing, they have shown everything in the American flag. So again it does not look very nice. So it is another bad example of a map. Another bad example of a map, political map, is like mentioning here the Russia and not Russia. Is a really very poor kind of examples of the map. So these things should not be there. The map, there is no neat line, no scale, nothing. Such maps are completely useless and they will give a complete wrong impression about your professionalism. So such things should always be avoided. So what finally we are coming to end of this particular discussion. So in the nutshell, what we should keep in mind while preparing a good map, and if we do not keep, then it becomes a bad map. So we have seen the examples of good maps and bad maps. So in nutshell, what we are going to do, color choices have to be very careful. Legend size and styling, again try and error. Sometimes you start liking one styling, no problem, but others should also appreciate. Level of details, again there has to be balance. Too much information is not good, means the cluttering should not be there, but whereas the required details must be there. So this has, again there is a balance. Same with the fonts and font size, means font style and font size. Scale has to be there. The direction, that is the north symbol, has to be there. Latitude, longitude, grid or tick marks should be there. And a map should be clean, not cluttered. Clean does not mean that you just give a blank sheet. No, clean means everything is nicely drawn. The layout has been designed very nicely, and your maps looks very impressive, effective, and can give a good impression about your professionalism. So now I am going to end this discussion. This is last slide on this. See that all these points which we have discussed are shown on the right side figure. Though the example from USA in the map does not matter, we can fit this one for India also. Therefore, on the left side the Indian map is also shown. So everything, like if I take example of legend, title, border, neat line, figure, and the main part, and then inset or locator map, and other places names are also there if it is not getting too cluttered, and the north arrow is also there, and credit, map credit is also there. Another last point which I want to cover here or discuss this thing, that whatever the space is available for you, one should utilize. Like in this example on the right side, the almost entire space of your page or slide has been utilized. If the state boundaries of USA should have been shown in a more smaller map, and inset map is a relatively larger, then it does not look nice. So the main thing is to show the boundaries of the states here, and therefore that should occupy the maximum space, rest can occupy the less space, or required whatever the essential space, that much should be given, because our emphasis on the main boundaries of the state. So, this one thing should keep in mind whether preparing PPTs or this, that whatever a space in terms of page or slide is available, we must utilize without cluttering. So, with this I thank you all. Namaskar.